Holy moly, Microsoft just got approval to complete their $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard, which will make it the single biggest tech acquisition in history. Activision Blizzard is responsible for massive game franchises like World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Candy Crush, and of course, Call of Duty, which is important because Call of Duty is actually the fourth highest grossing video game franchise of all time, only behind Mario, Tetris, and Pokemon. This acquisition also will make Microsoft the third largest game company on the planet by revenue. They're only behind Tencent, which owns massive franchises like League of Legends and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and Sony, which makes the PlayStation. And that's where all the trouble for this acquisition began. Back in January of last year, Microsoft announced their intent to acquire Activision Blizzard. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said that gaming is the most dynamic and exciting category in entertainment across all platforms today, and it will play a key role in the development of the metaverse.
You've got to remember, we built our games, like Flight Simulator was built before even Office was built at Microsoft. So we have a long heritage in gaming. So we want people to be able to enjoy the games they love on platforms they are, playing in, and that's our goal.
But the thing you need to know right now is that announcing intent to acquire a massive company is no joke, because it affects every single person there, from their shareholders and over 17,000 employees to third-party content creators and contractors. So if this deal doesn't close, Microsoft has to pay Activision a $3 billion termination fee. That's a lot more money than most gaming franchises ever make in the first place. But just 12 days after this announcement, the US Federal Trade Commission signaled that there would be a long fight ahead for these gaming giants to pull off this massive deal. By the end of that quarter, 4 prominent US senators sent documents to the FTC expressing their concern over the deal. And by the end of the summer, the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, or CMA, launched their own investigation into the deal. By the end of the year, the FTC announced that it would sue to block the acquisition altogether, arguing that the deal would let Microsoft, quote, harm competition in high-performance gaming consoles and subscription services, or degrading rivals' access to its popular content. The FTC pointed to Microsoft's record of acquiring valuable gaming content in the past, and then suppressing it from rival consoles, like when they acquired Bethesda, which makes popular games like Fallout, Skyrim, and the upcoming Starfield. After acquiring that studio, Microsoft made Bethesda's Starfield and Redfall Microsoft exclusives. As if that wasn't bad enough, the EU hit Microsoft with a formal antitrust warning over this deal, and the UK's CMA released the first round of findings from their investigation, which raised all kinds of concerns over the deal, leading to higher prices for games and fewer choices for consumers. The CMA wrote that this merger had the potential to, quote, alter the future of gaming, end quote. Those are pretty big words, and Sony agreed, saying that Microsoft owning Call of Duty meant that they could make it an Xbox exclusive, and there would be no incentive for Microsoft to release and maintain these games on rival platforms. In April of this year, the CMA also moved to block Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard to, quote, protect innovation and choice in cloud gaming. And for a while, it seemed like the acquisition was dead, and Microsoft would have to fork over those $3 billion. That is, until just a few days ago. After a long 5-day hearing in San Francisco between Microsoft and the FTC, the court sided with Microsoft, based on their commitments to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation and even bring the game to Nintendo Switch, for the 6 people who think that might be a good idea. Wow. Just look at those graphics. But here's the thing, the FTC isn't here to defend Sony or their access to Call of Duty. They were supposed to be defending the consumer, a fact that the courts actually had to remind the FTC of. And the irony here is that a huge portion of PlayStation's content strategy is centered around PlayStation exclusives. In fact, PlayStation 5 has 4 times more exclusive game titles than the Xbox Series X and S. That's why Sony has by far the biggest market share of the console gaming market, not Microsoft. So taking Call of Duty off of the PlayStation wouldn't even make any sense, because Microsoft would effectively cut the market for the biggest franchise they're acquiring in half. That's why Microsoft had no trouble committing to keeping Call of Duty on the PlayStation for 10 years and bringing it to the Nintendo Switch. And they entered into a few different agreements to bring Activision's content to several cloud gaming services for the first time. Based on all that, the court found that the FTC hadn't shown that this merger would substantially lessen competition in the gaming industry. Actually, the evidence points to more consumer access to Call of Duty and other Activision content. So the FTC's motion for a preliminary injunction, which is basically a pause in the case, has been denied. All caps, full stop, denied. And just in time too, because the deadline for this deal is on Tuesday, July 18th. Whew, talk about cutting it close. And speaking of cutting it close, did you know that Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, and Tesla all have their earnings calls in the next 2 weeks? One of the best resources to help you stay up to speed with all of these companies is Seeking Alpha. You probably know them for their massive library of articles on all things investing, but I've secretly been using their premium features for way more than that. With Seeking Alpha Premium, you can see buy, hold, or sell ratings for every stock, not just from the Seeking Alpha community, but directly from Wall Street analysts and even Seeking Alpha's own proprietary algorithm based on factors like current valuation, future growth, and profitability. You can also get 10 years of financial data on any stock, as well as investor presentations, earnings call transcripts, and press releases for every company, all in one convenient place. And you can even set alerts for when the stocks that you watch hit certain prices or a specific rating from Wall Street or from somewhere in Seeking Alpha. Oh yeah, and you can import your own portfolio and use all of these features for every stock you already track. It honestly feels like I'm investing using cheat codes. It's incredible. Seriously, check it out for yourself. You can use my link in the description below to get a 2-week free trial. Then, it's just $20 a month. Man, how easy is that? Alright, I know you can't tell by my rugged exterior, but I'm actually a pretty big nerd. Oh, you already knew that? Well, I grew up playing all of Blizzard's games, and I actually still play a couple of them to this day. Since the FTC did such a horrible job defending consumers and the gaming industry, let me share what I think will actually happen because of this $69 billion acquisition. The first thing Activision Blizzard gets is a massive boost to their distribution. See, Tencent either owns or has significant stakes in game companies like Riot Games, Epic Games, Ubisoft, and even Activision Blizzard, which it used to own 5% of before selling that stake to Microsoft. And Sony owns over 20 game studios as well, including Bungie, which is the studio responsible for massive franchises like Halo and Destiny, Naughty Dog, who makes The Last of Us, and Insomniac Games, which makes those incredible Spider-Man games. Not to mention Sony's huge PlayStation App Store and distribution network. And of course, there are companies like Google and Apple and Meta Platforms, with their hardware platforms and app stores as well. Activision Blizzard's distribution is a drop in the bucket by comparison, but now they can leverage things like Xbox Live, the Xbox Game Pass, and even Microsoft's distribution channels for PCs. So, despite what the FTC said in their defense of Sony, the consumer, gamers will actually have way more access to Activision's content, not less. And one thing that Microsoft gets is a solid entry into the mobile gaming market. If you combine tablets and smartphones, mobile gaming accounts for 51% of the global gaming market. Activision's Candy Crush is the most popular puzzle game on iOS and Android, with a whopping 273 million monthly active users. Candy Crush is the 6th highest grossing mobile game of all time, and generates almost twice as much revenue as the next most popular puzzle game. But I don't think Microsoft's goal is just to buy or build mobile games that sit on Apple's and Google's app stores. I think Microsoft is looking to bypass those app stores altogether. If there's one thing you can take away from these court battles around this acquisition, it's that distribution is king. Microsoft already knows that, which is why they're always adding new products and services to their Microsoft 365 and Office 365 bundles. They also know that Apple and Google are the gatekeepers of the mobile internet with their iOS and Android app stores that take 30 cents on every dollar through platform fees. With Activision's games and IPs, Microsoft could build a compelling mobile bundle that players could access directly instead of needing to go through the App Store. And if Microsoft decides not to take so many fees from developers, those developers could make their paid apps cheaper by passing those savings on to the consumer. Microsoft already regularly gives up plenty of one-time revenue from selling copies of their games. Instead, they make those games part of their Xbox Game Pass to entice players to pay a monthly subscription. So, I think this could be the start of Microsoft trying to compete with Apple and Google when it comes to media distribution. Another aspect of Microsoft that not too many people talk about is content creators. Satya Nadella often talks about the digital economy's transition from consumption to creation. When he became the CEO of Microsoft, one of his first big acquisitions was Mojang, the studio behind Minecraft. We also know that Microsoft wanted to buy Discord a few years ago. Most of Activision's games like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, and now Diablo are among the most watched games on Twitch TV, which is owned by Amazon, and YouTube, which is owned by Google. So I don't think it would be crazy for Microsoft to build a platform for content creators, especially around Xbox and PC gaming. Microsoft already tried competing with Twitch TV once by making a video streaming platform called Mixer. They even went as far as to pay top streamers tens of millions of dollars to switch to Mixer,
I will be streaming exclusively on Mixer,
only to have the platform fizzle out. The streamers ended up keeping the money and going right back to Twitch, and Mixer's staff ended up moving to Microsoft Teams. So maybe we see Microsoft build a direct competitor to Discord that has many more features and tighter integrations with games. Or maybe we see Microsoft build a suite of tools for esports and competitive gaming. My point is, I think Microsoft is going to find new ways to build an ecosystem of content creators, not just the content itself. I also think this acquisition really helps Microsoft's position when it comes to augmented and virtual reality, virtual worlds, and of course, the metaverse. One of the biggest initial use cases for VR will be having immersive experiences in some of your favorite stories. So companies with lots of popular IPs will have a huge advantage in making content for VR and the metaverse. For example, how cool would it be to visit different planets from the Star Wars universe and have personalized interactions with your favorite characters? Or to be able to sit in a room with your favorite Marvel characters and help them plan their next mission? Or to let your kids learn something interesting from some of their favorite Simpsons characters? Well, guess what? Disney owns all of those IPs, as well as franchises like Die Hard, Alien, Planet of the Apes, Avatar, X-Files, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I'm not even close to naming them all. Are you starting to see how that could be super valuable if the world creates new ways to engage with media altogether? Well, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision puts them in the same camp. The universes for Call of Duty, Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, and Overwatch are filled with characters and moments that people would want to experience in new ways. Apple's Vision Pro headset and OpenAI's ChatGPT are two technologies that will enable those new kinds of experiences. Well, guess what? Microsoft has a 49% stake in OpenAI, and they make the HoloLens headset, which competes with the Vision Pro on price. A few years ago, the HoloLens actually had some pretty amazing tech demos for gaming and ended up being adopted in different markets like security and healthcare. So maybe we'll see Microsoft revive the HoloLens now that Apple has created consumer demand for mixed reality headsets. Sony also has the PlayStation VR headsets, and Meta Platforms just announced the Meta Quest 3 a few weeks ago. So maybe the next Xbox will have its own ecosystem for virtual reality games as well. So hopefully you can see that there are a ton of great things that could come out of this acquisition, if it gets past the UK's Competition and Markets Authority and their concerns around cloud gaming. And to their credit, both Microsoft and the CMA seem willing to negotiate around what to do about that specific piece of the deal. In my opinion, this acquisition means more access to Activision's games, not less. More avenues for innovation at Microsoft, not less. And PlayStation owners will still be able to play Call of Duty, as well as the 6 people with a Nintendo Switch who think they want to play Call of Duty too. And to me, that's a future worth investing in. So if you want to follow along with this evolving story, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. That lets me know to put out more content like this. Either way, thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Ticker Symbol U. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you.